Thank you very much, and I'm incredibly honored to be asked by Jamaica National to be a part of this Reggae Symposium. Today I'm speaking about an issue that's near and dear to my heart, that's incredibly important to the reggae music fraternity, and that's about the Grammys and the Recording Academy. I'd like to give you the Academy by the numbers and how the voting process works. We have 29 fields within the voting process. 29 fields are made up of 84 categories. We were able in years past to be able to vote in 15 fields outside of the general fields. As of 2021, the Recording Academy has changed that to that we are now, as voting members, only allowed to vote in 3 fields outside of the general fields. So that's a very, very big difference in the way that we used to vote in years past. For example, so you understand the field and the category, having 29 fields, here in Jamaica, we have our reggae album field, which is only made up of one category, which is the reggae album. You also have the rap field, which is actually made up of several different categories. So our field has one category, the rap field can have 3 to 4 categories. That's how it's made up. It's made up of music albums, music singles, and craft categories. A craft category would be like best comedy album, which, just like us, sits alone in its own field with its own category. So that's how it's broken up as far as how we can vote. I'd also like to talk about the issues that actually affect the reggae album category. Back in 2003, when I started my advocacy program, I realized that we had one registered voter on the island of Jamaica. So I knew that we had a problem in our category because the people who were actually in our industry weren't actually voting in our field, and that needed to change. So I've spent years doing interviews and press, and as I'm doing tonight, educating our industry on how the process works. And as I've done it throughout the years, realized that we're not the only music genre that doesn't get it. The overall industry really doesn't get how it works. And with the Academy consistently making changes, it makes it very difficult to keep up with what's going on. So going back to when I was speaking about the numbers, the new rule that was put into place for 2021 definitely affects our reggae field for the simple fact that now we actually have people who actually do reggae music voting in our field. You had 15 fields before, and now you only have 3. Think about it as a voter. If you're not in the reggae industry, you could choose a rap field, you could choose a country field, you can choose these fields that have several categories in it where you feel like you're getting more bang for your vote. But you know, if you're in the reggae industry and this is what matters to you as it does to me, the very first field you're going to visit is the reggae album field, which is where our reggae album category sits, and you're going to cast your vote there. So you know it's going to limit the people who come over to vote that don't necessarily know what's going on in our industry. So that new rule put into place works to our benefit. Another thing, issues that we have, in the past, people have always asked for another category for us within our field. Back in the 90s, when I got involved with the Recording Academy and really getting involved in 2003 with this campaign, I had put petitions in, and other people put petitions into the Academy to try to get another category. Everybody wanted to do a reggae category, a dancehall category. Unfortunately, it never happened, and I don't actually ever see it happening for the simple fact that the Recording Academy, the main office that's based in LA, is a very small staff of people. And the Academy tends to take away fields, not put more fields in. Because the more fields you put in, the more categories involved, the more work that has to be done. So you tend to see things get condensed, some names change, but it's very, very difficult for a field to get another category within it. And my bigger concern is the preservation of our actual field is what we need to be worried about. Right now we're going through a pandemic where submissions across the board in all fields were very, very low. The biggest issue in our category, our field and category this year is we only had 125 submissions this year. And a lot of those submissions were one rhythm albums, which I absolutely love. I'm a lover of dancehall, but unfortunately, within the Grammy scheme of things, it is an art form that is only known to Jamaica. So if we only had like 70-something artists submissions this year, and the rest were like almost 50 one-rhythm albums. The way that the Recording Academy could look at that is that we only actually had 70 submissions. And that is one of the key things they look at when they are getting rid of fields and categories. If your submissions are low, you can tend to lose your category. So what we need to educate our industry on is also how to submit a record to the Recording Academy. And the way that you can do that is you have to have an album that was released within the United States of America within that calendar year that's eligible for the Recording Academy. It also has to be considered a new recording. It can't be something that was over 5 years old. It has to be something that's considered new, not something that had been released before, unless you take an album where you do an album, but then you do it acoustically or you do it live. That to the Recording Academy is considered a new recording. So you can resubmit that. My example is Stephen Marley's Mind Control. People were confused, they didn't understand. One year he won for his debut solo album, Mind Control, and then he won the next year, and they were like, but that's the same album. Not according to the Recording Academy because he did it acoustically. So that's why artists can win for a live album because yes, they're doing material that was released before, but it's a new recording because now it's recorded live. So that is eligible. So we really have to make sure that people understand the submissions. And that's one thing, is kind of my give back to our industry, that I have an open door policy that if people don't have the ability or know how to submit their records, I will submit them for them. You can actually submit an album if you are a record label that the Recording Academy deems a record label. You can't just make up a record label and say I'm a record label. It has to be a record label that they acknowledge. You have to be a media company that they would acknowledge, a publisher that they acknowledge, or you can be a voting member. And that's why I am able to offer up that service, because I am a voting member for 19 years and I am able to submit people's projects. And I have to say, the other issue that we've had is people with this conspiracy theory about these committees. I sat on our screening committee for several years. The screening committee is not a hindrance, it's an incredible help. 99% of what makes it through the submission process is on the first ballot. Most of the people who actually sit on these committees aren't even voting members. It is not a room full of private people, 15 to 10 or 5 people deciding on who's going to win the reggae album that year. The only people who can decide who wins a Grammy are those 13,000 voters that are out there. It has nothing to do with a room of 5 people that were appointed to actually help with our process, not hinder it. So that is an argument that we need to just dead, because, like I said, they're a help, they're not a hindrance. In conclusion, and I hope it wasn't too confusing trying to follow me with all the information, and there's just so much more information that's out there. You guys can learn like I've learned. And the one place you can go that's updated all the time, where all this information lives, is at www.grammy.com. You can always go to Grammy.com to find out all the new information, all the new rule changes, everything that's going on within the Recording Academy. But I do want to leave you with this. I know a lot of people say that the Grammys don't matter. They do matter. They are the most prestigious music accolade that you can receive in the world. Reggae music is the most influential music in the world. And there's not an artist that's down here that is either started or is a legend that doesn't deserve the ability to win one of these. And that's why I'm going to constantly be banging these doors, doing these interviews, and spreading the good word and the information to get these facts and the information correct on how to become a Grammy member and how to become a Grammy winner. And all I want to say is, to the 6 nominees that we have this year, I'm incredibly proud of you. I'm happy for whomever wins. I'm always happy for whomever wins, because it's another win for reggae. Thank you.